Well, that was a disaster. Why is there no sound? Yo, that was a disaster. It's not going to work, is it? Can you hear me? Oh, it's good now. Yo, is it working? I just lost everybody before, but I don't know why it didn't work. This microphone's clearly a waste of time. So get rid of that. But yeah, glad it's working now. Hopefully we didn't annoy anybody too much. Probably lost some people. But yeah. How's everybody doing? So we've got Sailor Boy number one. Hopefully you sail over out of the dreaded Captain Neil anchorage was okay. You can back me up that anchorage is potentially one of the worst anchorages to exist for a southern swell. Gary Larkin, how's it going? Are you still out sailing, or are you nicely safe in a port for the winter? And the old sailmaker, all good now, no worries. So we'll give it a few minutes to see if people do rejoin, because I'm not holding my breath, because I think we've tested people's patience there quite quickly. But if not, you lot can have the update. Cascais at the moment going to Porto Santo. Nice. I'll have to Google where that is. Where is it? Cascais. You was coming back from the Azores the last time, I think. So this shit anchor spot, swell 24/7. Yeah, horrible there. Yeah, thanks for staying as long as you did. It was a struggle to get back over there. I've requested a bit of extra time. It's not looking good for getting that boat out of there. But yeah, I'll get onto it. Goes to Cardiff and started over again. Not bad. That's some serious sailing, isn't it? So are you going back to the Azores now? We're on three people. What we'll do is we'll maybe give it to like 1:30, see if anyone joins. I did repost this one at being 20 past. So it might take a few minutes, or maybe the first month of the sound. So I'd one off. But it was always a bit of a risk doing a live. I've tested it, as I say, a few consecutive days at this time. Just before it came on, my phone dropped off the thing and put a split in the middle of the screen. I was trying to put an actual thumbnail on that wasn't just me looking shocked. And then the internet went off just before, up until about 2 minutes before it was meant to start. So not helpful. I mean, yeah, the sound didn't work. Although it did work the other day, so I'm not sure what that was about. And yeah, difficult when I guess we just start. Where shall we start? The shipwreck? Is that the best place to start? There's a good while Sailor Boy number one is here too, because he was there and we gave it a fair attempt to get the boat off the rocks. We had an architect with us who knows a lot about weights and direction and lifting, and we didn't make much progress. We didn't not make any progress, um, but lifting a boat up is not as easy as I think it looks on paper. The the plan was to put it from where it is laid on the beach on its side up right to then fix some damage to the hull and keel to then lay it back down and pull it onto the water. Uh, how far would you say we lifted it? Not far. And at one point, the boat actually fell off the car jack, and it must have fallen no more than 4 centimeters. And the impact and the sound that made was absolutely crazy. So the plan was then to go back and just try pull it off there. Yeah, it was like a bomb. Like the whole mast shook, the rigging shook. Um, and what you've got to imagine if the boat is now, you know, not going to work very well, is it? The boat's now laid up like that. We have to get it to do that. If it drops and does that, it's going to be a, it's going to be a, I don't know. I feel like the mast would instantly come off because from falling that small amount, it was already chaotic. So yeah. The other problem we had really was people on the beach just generally being a nuisance. So already people have gone into the boat. Before that day I'd been and some people had left like a picnic on the boat. There were sandwiches everywhere and they'd just been left on in the cockpit and they might have been there 4 or 5 days. So when I actually got to it, there's all these rotten sandwiches just on the boat with flies and maggots. It's not nice. It's not a nice experience. And then when people are on the beach coming up to you going, "Oh, whose boat is it?" Everyone points at you because yeah, it's not their boat. And we just generally found that people they just they want to point the obvious, which we know what the obvious is. But there was actually one lady when we arrived who had been on the boat and she was with there was two men, a bunch of kids, and some of the orange like I think you throw them in the water when someone's falling in or something. The big orange like square rectangle floats, and they'd been taken off the boat and was just on the beach. And she'd taken them off, and she just walked straight over to us, started getting on the boat, like right in front of us, and I'm like looking, and the guy who's with us is like, calm down," and it's like, "Oh, what you doing?" And then she started speaking. I obviously don't speak fluent French, so I think at one point I said, do you want to all grab a rope and help pull?" And it was said a little bit out of annoyance. And the man told me after, because then they had a conversation in French about it, that she was annoyed that she couldn't take the orange things off the boat. He'd said to her, "You shouldn't get on the boat," and she'd said back to him, "Well, it's a shipwreck, so you can do whatever," and he kind of said no. And then she said she's taking these orange things, and he said, "Well, no, you can't. They're not yours." But that's as it is. If a boat gets washed up on the beach, everybody thinks they've got a right to go and take things off it. And if anything, I'm quite surprised that some of the values have not been taken off. But I think that's largely because where it is, it's an effort to get anything off the boat and it's towards like the car park. But I think when I arrived, because yeah, Sailor Boy number one was there and he's seen, various annexes are going from the boats that are now at anchor and just going up, hatch off inside. And that's the worst part of it all because you've still got personal things in there and you've no real way of securing them. So regarding that, I have asked for an extension and I've put a few messages out to see if some fishing boats, whatever, will just come and try pull it. And before that, I'll put some foam where the keel's broke, and likewise, I'll just have to try to do it from the inside because there's no way we can tip the boat. It's well, it's dangerous for one, and a whole day was spent trying to just get it up, and we really didn't make much progress. So it's crap because we was there, we had some doing some recording, and I'd love to be able to put an episode on that the boat, even if we didn't move forward with the boat, that we could get it off the rocks. And it weren't through lack of wanting to do that or trying to do that. It's just, I think I'd said in an episode at the time, I'm also not in a position to go daily over to the boat. The day that we tried to do this, luckily I got a lift over there and a lift back. But ideally, I'd have then gone the next day too, but it wasn't possible. And there was quite a long wait before going in the first place to try to do anything, because I was waiting for a guy who had some lifts and stuff. And you can go stay at the boat and look at it hoping you're gonna get off the beach, but none of it was ideal really. And I'm aware that I shouldn't have been in this situation in the first place. And the reason I was, as I've explained in part one of the financial episode, that money had just run out, couldn't put it in a port, and was at anchor for the beginning of, well, all of September. But I'd got off towards the end, but in some horrible swell, and my luck ran out, I guess, and the boat ended up on the rocks. But yeah, it's not good. If you're going to lose your dignity, it's having to walk on a beach telling everyone it's your boat that's washed up while everybody's fishing through it and taking what they want from inside. So I've not written it off just yet. You know, they might tell me I can have an extension. I have told them that effort's been made to start doing it, and the good thing is salvaged quite a lot. So thank you to everyone who was involved in doing that, because whether it's people who have helped come do it or people who have sent donations, which in turn have made it possible for me to even be in a position to be able to go over there. And salvage wise, got most of the tools off the boat. The batteries, we managed to get off the boat. One solar panel, we managed to get off the boat. The navigation equipment, so like the chart plotter, the radio, my laptop, and all that sort of stuff, managed to get off the boat. So all in all, at least everything isn't lost if I can't get off there. The problem is, if I don't get off there, I am going to incur a massive, massive fine. And if you've got any idea what that fine might be, let me know in the comments. But I've heard various different numbers thrown around, all of which have been upwards of 5 grand. So yeah, we're obviously not in a position to pay that, and it it could potentially then have an impact on just generally being allowed to be in France. So hopefully not, but we'll see. But if you have got any ideas, let me know. As I say, I've not completely written off getting it off there yet. It all depends if they're gonna give me a bit more time, and if I can find some big boats to just pull it off, because essentially that's what they're going to do anyway. So yeah. Any questions about the shipwreck? Let me know. If not, I'll move on. The update is, and it's maybe, well, before that actually, I'll talk a little bit about why I'm still sat on the boat, because I know it's caused some confusion. Because I'm not sat on the shipwreck boat. I'm on a different boat, and I think I have mentioned this boat was taken on as a project, which maybe I could have made some money on, because the boat generally is in relatively good condition, and what maybe to a lot of people started off as a bad idea has actually ended up being a lifeline, because I don't know where I'd be staying right now had I not have had this to fall back on. I know a lot of people think, well, maybe that wouldn't have happened if he wasn't on the boat in the first place, but I have mentioned that the weather had got really bad. There was no one else at anchor there, and we'd had a dangerous time actually getting off the boat at one point. So yeah, this boat, it's an Ecume de Mer, so it's a little bit smaller than the other boat. The condition generally, I say it's in fairly good condition, and it was the aim for it was to have the two, and where this port is, there is a place, and I mentioned it loads of times, where you could moor a boat for free, and Sailor Boy number one will probably back me up on this. You would, it's one thing leaving a boat there for free. You probably wouldn't want to stay on a boat there for free. To get into Marseille, and depending on which Google results you look at, it'll tell you about how dangerous Marseille as a city can be. I've read quite a bit about it, and I think the common thing is, well, if you're not getting yourself involved with drug traffickers, you're generally going to be okay, and that's the case. My problem is I stand out like a sore thumb, and trouble seems to follow me around for some reason. But that dock for having a boat on for free and all of your valuables being on another boat, what it would have enabled me to do at the time is work on both of them. And it's not really a case of that much would have been needed in terms of parts or money, more just time, and after potentially be able to sell one, because I was going to have to find a boat, not a boat, sorry, but a place to put a boat either way. So that's why I ended up going with that. It was a boat on the hard. It made a lot of sense. It would have allowed me to put another boat close by. And I'm not sure at that point which one I'd have kept, which one I'd have sold. I'm not even sure whether I'd have just tried to fix them both enough to sell them both and go from there, to be honest. But I was clutching at straws a little bit at the time. And as I say, it could have come across as a bad idea. However, what it has ended up doing is be a safe place for me to lay put all of the valuable stuff that's been taken off that boat and have somewhere to sleep. So yeah, what might have been a bad idea actually turned out to be a sort of a saving grace, I guess. And I quite like it, to be honest. It is smaller than the other one, but you'll have heard me no end of time saying how I thought the one I had before was kind of a waste of space used. It was really wide. I'd always have to pay a few categories up because of the width of the boat, and I've obviously slept on here a little while now, and I don't actually feel like I'm losing out on that much in terms of space. Maybe I'm just trying to convince myself a bit. I do lose space. It's a smaller boat, but not the important space. I don't have a wardrobe to hang my clothes anymore, but to be honest, half the time they're in washing bags waiting to be washed. But there's a fridge in place of it, and generally the space is just used a lot better. And I will do a boat tour. Obviously, this sort of stuff's not been a priority this last couple of weeks, and still the priority is getting trying to move that other boat. But as I've said before, life still goes on. You still have to do the things you've got to do to live. Um, but yeah, an ecume de mer, and that's why I've still been on a boat. So the good news is, when we're evaluating everything that's happened the last 2 months, a lot of it's bad. We're not really where we wanted to be. I get all that, but somebody did say to me when it happened, at least you still have a boat, and I do dread to think how I'd have coped with getting the boat on the rocks and everything had there not been this that I can essentially fall back on, or more importantly at the minute, just to live on. So yeah, that's a little bit about why you do still see me on a boat. And it's not a case of when I can't get over to the shipwrecked boat and try to do anything about on there that I have been fairly busy on here. Some painting has happened. Some people have been really generous because I did eventually start a GoFundMe. I was a little bit reluctant because I knew that you do get a bit of negativity from some people for doing it, but generally some people have been really generous on there, and all the money from GoFundMe will go on to getting this boat on the water. So hopefully we can do it. And that brings me on to probably what is a good update in and amongst all of this chaos. And that is, you may have seen an episode of me talking about how I ended up financially in this position. And just to quickly summarize, I lost my job in May that I was supposed to be doing until September. And then I did what most people, I assume, would do in that position and tried to get, some help temporarily in order to then move forward. And it's been a 5 month waiting game. However, some of you will have already seen this on Patreon or Coffee. Um, however, I did finally manage to get an appointment with the job centre. It weren't necessarily the job centre I needed to see about the money side of it, but I think the woman was a bit taken aback and she was like, yeah, but why are you not getting this like equivalent of €700 a month? Like anybody gets it, regardless of whether you've worked, not worked, whatever. Why are you not getting it? And I tried to explain. And the first thing she did is she did something on a computer, told me that she would put me in contact with, I think it's called the social worker, which is, I feel like it's a little bit embarrassing to admit that, but it's not necessarily a case of I don't know what I'm meant to be doing. It's a case of I've tried doing it and it didn't do anything. But the important thing is she offered me to go on a training course for 6 months, and I was a bit like, well, yeah, sure. Like, if at the time, what's the training course? And it's actually a French training course. So for 6 months, full time, like the same as if you were doing a full time job or school, I guess. I will be going to French school and learning French. That's not going to be the outcome everybody wanted me to say I was going to be doing. But the good news is, the 700 a month, as I say, anybody could get that working or not. But the good thing will be, if I'm going to spend 6 months doing something, that going forwards won't necessarily then seem like a waste. It should allow me to, well, I will still be able to live on a boat. So unlike when I went and worked the time before, I should be able to, well, I will be able to, when I'm not at French school, still be able to fix stuff on the boat. It gives me a bit of breathing room. There's still a lot to work out. Like ideally, I need to move this boat out of here and just to a cheaper port. But it's probably the breathing room I need. And €700 a month. The port throughout the winter is not actually so expensive. So to pay for a port in the winter, I'm maybe looking at about 250 a month. It leaves more than we've had for a very long time to be able to just like reset, get a boat ready, because it's not necessarily a case of lots and lots needs to be spent. It's more a case of time needs to be spent, and that time will be spent a lot easier on the boat when I'm not just spending my time trying to work out where like the next meal is coming from. And I don't do this comfortably coming on here talking about how poor I am. I'd actually rather not be doing it, but I do feel like I have to explain it sometimes because people comment and just think, well, why have you not got boat insurance? Why this? Why that? Why this? So yeah, that's the big update. I think I'm going to French school, and if you've watched this before, you'll know that anything that allows me to not have to go home is probably good news. So yeah, right. Has there been any comments? Ahoy from Cornwall, sailing with John. I always think if I do have to go to England, Cornwall is probably going to be the choice destination because is the weather decent in Cornwall? What's the sea like? I've never actually been to Cornwall. Uh, Sailor Boy number one. Yeah, you can live there. This is what I mean. Hopefully it's just a six. If you'd have said to me 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever, that I'd have to spend 6 months in one place, and that place being Marseille, I'd have been like, well, I'm not doing that. And maybe the good thing that could come from all of this is that because it got so bad for a little while, like being out at anchor in them storms, etc., and then ending up with a boat on the beach. Actually, the things that used to seem quite bad now don't seem so bad. And the thought of 6 months, nice and safe in a port, with plug-in electricity, um, being able to catch up with stuff, still be looking for other ways to earn some more money and stuff should be quite good. And the winter's the winter anyway. I think we can all agree that even if I could quickly get this one ready and in the water, sailing back out into the water with no money still just it doesn't make any sense. We'll just end up repeating probably what's just happened. So the good thing is I won't have to really do anything different. I can still put videos on of doing this boat up, and who knows, maybe I'll start a separate YouTube about learning French. There is a liveaboard community around Falmouth. It's not all roses here, but I love it. Yeah, see, I always wonder this, that if I had done all this in the UK, would it be a lot easier to fit into, like, well, be part of a community? Because a lot of the time, whilst doing this, I am in places fairly alone. And I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it is very set up for like yachting here rather than sailing. So what we could talk about actually is this finding boat work. So at no point have I given up on doing that. Ideally, I'll once I start to just get a base bit of money coming in, I can then put a bit more resource into that. Like I feel if I had some flyers, some leaflets, business cards, whatever that I could give out around ports, that would help. The issue I have is it depends which port you're in. And going back to Marseille being a little bit dangerous, the last thing you want to do sometimes in a port like this is come and start treading on people's toes, like the people who are earning money. Because if you start to rub the wrong people up the wrong way, and you're in a port that technically not really meant to be in, like they're not, I'm not the favourite person. They're waiting for money from me. So if I was then to start upsetting some of the people who do work here, taking work off them, or looking like I'm going to take work off them, it is a bit of a problem. I do know that that's the way the world works, competitive and every man for himself. But like the few people here that I've seen doing the work, you do then worry about the trouble you might get from people. And I know you might think that sounds a bit extreme, but I mean it quite genuinely. Like if if you if you're in a fairly dangerous place and you're keeping your head down and to yourself, that's one thing. But if you go start upsetting people, that's not to say that if you weren't just in the right port, it wouldn't be a little bit easier to do. The port I was in for the most of the last year, the guy who does the boat work around there, that is the guy everyone goes to, and I weren't really meant to be there, was I? So if I had gone and started, and he then didn't like and started to complain about me, then very quickly found himself pushed out of the port, which ended up happening anyway. That's a different story. But boat work generally, I know that there's this opinion that it's quite easy to just, arrive in a port and get work. And maybe for some people it is, and in different places it's a lot easier. But here, it's not through lack of trying, it's just not really coming up. So, yeah. Any, just one second. Does anybody have any questions? this has not really gone to plan after the initial audio issue. Regarding YouTube episodes, I did start putting the ones from where we got up to. Last summer, getting back to that boat, and I have about 10 ready to upload. The only reason I've not put them on is the laptop charger broke, and because the laptop charger broke, I weren't able to get them off the laptop. And then the shipwreck happened, and then I ended up putting about that. And if I'd have put them directly after, it would have just confused everyone. What I'll probably do with them episodes is I'll just bulk upload them, and yeah, I'll probably lose quite a lot of views. But for the people who want to see what I got up to on the shipwrecked boat before it ended up being a shipwrecked boat, it might be quite good because I'm sure some people think I just sat around all that time, and it's not really the case. When I got back to the boat directly from when I was working, I've edited them episodes, and I can see me go from being really motivated to doing it, and then getting to the point where there weren't really any money ran out, and things weren't working as quickly as I needed to. And then it's quite easy to lose motivation because you don't have the resources you need to do the thing, to fix the things you need to fix. If you are planning to keep the boat, try get liability insurance, 70 per year. Yeah, until like the last year, I had insurance. I just got to point out that I agree with in, sorry, losing my words there. I was reading the next comment. Boat insurance is right. I absolutely should have had it. And one thing that I will say I've learned from all of this is I really should have reached out and asked for some help sooner, than I did, because actually in doing so, I have found that people I've met over the time I've been doing this have been quite supportive, and that's where I went wrong. I should have I should have a refused to move the boat without, whatever the implications of doing that might have been. I shouldn't have gone and put myself in a unsafe situation. Um, that will all be coming up in an episode because I'll be here quite a while explaining why the boat had to suddenly leave the port it was in. But I really should have back then, not carried on until I'd done them things. I know that. In hindsight, I probably could have left the boat there all summer and gone somewhere and worked, but I was told I couldn't do it. That's why I wasn't just leaving the boat there to go get work. It ended up being there for a year, but it was never allowed to be there for a year. That's just what happened. What happened? For the next one, yeah, 100% insurance needs to happen because yeah, the mess obviously wouldn't be so bad if I had insurance. But yeah, I was just not that quickly trying to explain that. I agree I should have insurance. It's not really a case of I wanted to chance my luck thinking nothing bad would happen. Um, I just didn't have the 70 at the time to get the insurance. And I'm not saying that lightly. I genuinely mean it. Have you thought about going to the province with your story? The newspaper? No. I could try. I'm not sure. Do you think they'd want to listen to it? I think boats getting washed up. The beach where the boat is washed up, one got washed up the year before. I was being told a bigger motorboat got washed up on there. So at least I'm not the first, and probably won't be the last. But is Le Province just a French newspaper, or is it one of them like English ones? The province is owned by a shipping company might be an angle. I might have to Google what is the problem. So it's in published in Marseille. Yeah, local Marseille newspaper. Maybe I'll give it a go. There's probably no harm in sending them an email, and I really do need to get a lot better at sending it to other places. Like it, it wouldn't be a bad idea to just send it. You know, I see the sailing YouTube things, and I send to them quite regularly, but standing out in there is not actually so easy sometimes. When I got shipwrecked, there's another sailing channel you might have seen. Got stuck on a reef, but they're quite a big sailing channel. Uh, so yeah, it's quite hard when you're a relatively small one to stand out. But it is a good suggestion. I will try send them an email because I'm sure there's probably loads of people who are quite curious about whose boat is on the beach. It's one of them, innit? Would you rather them see you or not see you? I guess. Adlys. Adys. I don't know what it means. Adys. Adlys. Should I know what it means? uh, I'm out of practice for this. It's all right. There's loads of questions. My wife's family is from Cassis, France. Apparently, people are starting to discuss the boat on the beach. Yeah, yeah. When I've been to it, you you get quite a mixture of people being like, "Oh, that's really sorry," sort of thing. But then you also get quite a bit of annoyance that it's there, which I do understand why. Um, Maybe what I should have done was put some adverts around Cassis La Ciotat and seeing if anybody had any advice around there. But you're right, nothing really does happen there. I think I'm probably banished from that town for the rest of my life. The day after I'd gone to try get some stuff off the boat, and I thought I was, oh, I'm gonna sleep on the boat. I need to protect all of my stuff on the boat, and then yeah, and then the morning after, I'd realised it was a bad idea. I was really cold, and I got stopped by the police trying to hitchhike a lift back from Marseille, and it's like this town. You're right, it's really quiet, and I might be like the one, the one guy where everyone has. There's a guy in the town, and everyone looks at him and thinks, "What's that guy?" Sadly, I've probably become that guy in that town, which is not ideal. Um, Sadly, I'm New York, but it's gonna get left out just on anchor. I'm really sorry. So hard with things. Yeah, as I say, I shouldn't have left it out at anchor, and I'm pretty sure there'll be some people that have left watching this because it's very easy to watch and think, well, you've done this yourself. Like people have commented throughout the whole time of doing this, saying there's an accident waiting to happen, and it's quite easy now to forget the first year where we did achieve some stuff, and people have said quite a bit in the comments recently, like, well, what have you done, or have you ever even sailed? Somebody commented saying, oh, a chancer living on a boat begging on YouTube, which obviously, that wasn't the case originally. Um, and we've spent a year probably really just trying to get back what I had the year before. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, I think the one good thing in all of this will be if I was now back in the situation I was in the first year of doing this, I'd probably appreciate it a lot more than I did at the time. And yeah, we keep getting told smoke too much weed. It's just one guy who wants to follow, click on every video saying, "Oh, you smoke too much weed." I just, for the record, say I actually don't smoke weed. I won't go into it. I think it's not worth the time. But that's how easy it is to make assumptions of what people do or how they got in a situation when it's not always necessarily the right assumption. Um, yeah, going back quickly to this book and trying to put a bit of a positive spin on everything. By accident, what we've ended up doing is, there's another boat then, and regarding, yeah, a lot got lost on the boat. A lot got lost on the boat that's on the beach, and that's it's quite bad. And I think I said in the video, like, just getting all the books and the writing off was quite a big deal for me because I share a lot on YouTube, but by no means do I share everything. And if you're still watching, Sailor Boy number one, I had the pleasure of meeting a subscriber that's watched this channel from right at the beginning. And my question to him was like, "You've sailed miles, like all the way from Sweden, and what's making you even watch this? Because I ain't going anywhere. I've not gone anywhere for ages." And yeah, apparently I was one of the first ones he watched when he was setting off. Albeit back then we thought I was going to sail a lot more than I did. But I probably told him a little bit more than I put on YouTube, and probably a lot of what's gone on then makes a lot more sense if you know the whole backstory. But yeah, all of your personal stuff, stuff like writing a journal or blogs or whatever, for random people to just be rummaging around, that's it's just not a nice thought. Even just your personal belongings, like, yeah, that's probably the worst part of it. But I'm going off subject. What I was saying is, regardless of the amount of stuff lost, we probably have a more complete boat than I've had at any given point. So regarding batteries, at the minute I've got two 120, I think, amp hour batteries that on the boat. Um, we've got all the tools and stuff off. And regarding the days left, if there's any extended days, if it really looks like I'm not going to be able to get the boat off the beach, what I will do is I will go spend another full day of just stripping anything I can of any use. So obviously, you know, masks and stuff, although it's a nice idea, and if I could have got the boat to here, we could have fully stripped it. But just a little bits inside that weren't a priority to get off, but still have some value because there is I am in a position where I have spares of stuff which I can sell. For example, I've got an anchor windlass, which I actually never had fitted on either of the boats before. This one came with one fitted, so there is various bits I can sell. And already on this one, I've started to put the pieces in place. And yeah, as I say, we've probably got a more complete boat than we've had before. Uh, how long have you been growing your beard? Mostly? A long time, but I do sometimes give it a bit of a trim. I think if you go back to the maiden voyage episode 2 of this, I think it was like here somewhere, but I got fed up of being called ZZ Top, so now I try and keep it to about this length. Uh, what's the plan now? I've missed your current progress. Yeah, the current plan is this Ecume de Mer. We're gonna it was meant to be a project potentially to sell, but it's my boat. If you've watched this before, I have a little bit of a thing for Kingdom Hearts because I got into this, and the main channel I watched was the Sailing Frenchman. I keep trying to tag him and see if he can see a video, but he doesn't. But yeah, this boat, go forward with it. And I mentioned you might have missed it, but I'll just say quickly again. There's a bit of a solution regarding the financial situation, and I'm probably going to the equivalent of like, I guess it's a bit like doing open university sort of thing. It's not necessarily I get a qualification, but it's paid training, and at the end of it, I should be able to speak French, which going forward will help me work, and I get to do it while still having a boat in a port. And in the time I'm not at French school, I can work on the boat and get it ready. So winter, it's probably going to be a winter on a boat, but rather than last winter where we was in a place where because it was really hard to get anything done to the boat, I'd be looking at probably Viewport in Marseille and trying to get a place in there because it's quite cheap, like 240 per month. So that's the plan going forward. And yeah, I'm forgetting what I said. I've not fully ruled out trying to rescue the other boat yet, but it is becoming increasingly unlikely, I guess. Uh, been growing mine 6 months now. It's a good 2 inches long. Yeah, it's that itchy stage. Once you get over the itchy stage, mine recently it's that didn't really used to grow here, or here, but I don't really. It does now, luckily. But I feel like where I've gained beard hair, I've lost head hair. So that's an age thing, I guess. Uh, which kind of like when you say regardless of the amount of loss. Thanks, because I know a lot of people think I'm stupid carrying on. Um, and I do understand why people think that. I've been doing this episode about why financially this would be better or financially that would be better to do, but it's taking, well, sorry, it's not that it's taking me a long time. The laptop charger was broken and various things have broke, but that episode will still be coming about why I don't necessarily automatically choose to go home and work. And someone commented, quoting Sailing the Vagabond the other day on a comment, and how Riley had a dream and went back and worked for 4 years to go back and then do the dream. And I think there is a big case of theory and reality. And in theory, it's easy in it. I'm saying now in theory, yeah, I'm gonna go spend the winter, learn French, earn 700 a month, and all is well. It's even that's not going to be that simple. And going back for 4 years, life's going to go on. And I think I've said this quite a lot recently. I might not even ever get back on board if I did that because by the time you've started paying rent, you don't really want to be into paying rent. So you'd rather be paying a mortgage because you're at least getting something at the end of it. But either way, I've worked in the UK before, and someone will have to let me know roughly what you're doing minimum wage because I'm not entirely sure what it is now. But by the time I'm working and paying rent and bills and everything else, realistically, how much money am I going to save while I'm back there? And in order to go back there now, I would have to just lose everything. And as I say, there is valuable stuff on this boat. I should probably do an episode just going through everything and tallying up how much things are worth because it's all them stuff that I'd instantly just then lose. Uh, but yeah, thanks for that. And I put a post when I'd put the GoFundMe to try and like cushion that I was putting it because I was worried about a bit of backlash from it. And um, yeah, I there's a couple of comments saying that there was one that somebody watches from the other side of the world and takes inspiration from this. And it might be that I'm just showing people how to not do it, and people can learn from my mistakes. But I have shown the reality of like sailing on a budget. I think, or not being able to sail on a budget because things break and you can't then sail. I don't know, but either way, it has been honest. I don't hide behind the bank balance, and yeah, I do things that probably everyone wouldn't agree with all the time. But a lot of the time, I'm just doing what I need to do in order to stay on a boat. And I like living on a boat. I feel like if I went back and stopped this now, I really would be like losing a part of myself, and that is quite hard to explain. But even now, in my absolute crisis, I'm the guy who has a shipwrecked boat on the beach, and to a lot of people, especially that I met over the last year that don't know about the year before where we did achieve some stuff, they think, oh, who's this idiot? This port describes me to the guy I got the boat off as, who's this guy that's just squatting on a boat? And the guy who gave this boat, he defended me a bit. He didn't know me that well, but this guy's been a massive help. And he was like, look, it's not his life to squat on a boat. He just needs a bit of time and some better luck. So I've definitely lost the point I was talking about then. It's like an ad break button. uh, but yeah, I'm sure a lot of people think, yeah, I've completely lost the point. I'll remember and I'll get back onto it. Is the engine working on the boat? Oh, the exhaust elbow needs replacing, but I was going to show you it, but I don't remember where I put it. The the exhaust elbow needs changing, and somehow I managed to find one. I'm not entirely sure if it's going to fit perfectly yet, but even if not, this boat is a size that, even just for the sake of now and moving it to a different port, we could put an outboard motor on the back. The other one we could never do it. I tried once before, way before doing YouTube, and it was too high up at the back to be able to get an outboard motor on it. But he did tell me about the exhaust elbow, and as I say, the guy who has given me this boat has been beyond helpful, and I can't imagine for a second that he wouldn't have told me, to be honest. But who would when they're trying to get rid of a boat? No, honestly, the engine itself looks like immaculate, apart from the exhaust elbow, and he did tell me it was working. That's not the answer everyone wants to hear, is it? But an exhaust elbow I've done before. It's quite easy to do, and as I say, if it's not working, then we can always just put an outboard motor on the back. But I think it will work, and he told me it was working. Um, so yeah, hopefully it works. Uh, French taxi tip, piss two, yeah, and this is a. I'm glad someone's raised this actually, because I always feel like I'm defending, then taking something back from Social Security. But when I was working full time, man, the amount I paid. I went from working on a UK contract to then working on a French contract, and just in doing that, oh, I lost hundreds per month. Like the 2,100 euro wage, and I was coming out with 1,400 and something, maybe. And then you've got the cost of living in the south of France as well. It's Even when you go to some of the places, and Sailor Boy number one said he was surprised about this when he arrived. Even when you're not in the rich places, it's still really expensive. Like I don't really know the cost of things in the UK, but I've seen something on YouTube short the other day where someone was showing what they bought from I think Aldi or something, and for £14, a random number I know, but for £14 they had 14 meals. Like, albeit they're not the best meals, but here to buy a tinned chili, for example, it's like €3 60 or something sometimes. And that's for a tinned chili. It's, yeah, the cost of living here is extreme. What's your plans regarding sailing? What's your plans regarding sailing? I watch another YouTuber, can't remember his channel. He goes on long solo sails. He's covered in tattoos. Is it James the Sailor? Is it called? Is it James the Sailor Man? I think that's right. He lost his rudder while doing a ocean passage. That is a good channel. I've seen a lot of it too. My plans regarding sailing is not to give up on it just yet and have a boat that's ready to sail, which we've not really ever had a fully functioning sailboat, have we, since we started, or since I started. Um, and what would be quite nice in the winter too is to have a place in a port, have this bit of money coming in every month, and on the weekend going out for some little sails again, and just being able to enjoy that without the stress of having to survive out at anchor and all the rest of it. Just to kind of, yeah, as I say, refresh. But I wouldn't still be doing any of this because if there wasn't some intention to sail. So that is always what we want to get on and do. So hopefully them days come again. I'm sure they will, and even if I did have to give the sport up and go back, I'm sure I'd find a way to go and sail a boat again. I miss it, and there's been a real desperation this last year, and maybe that half been the problem, but a real desperation to be sailing again. And it is a bit hard to accept that it's going to be another winter of not going off and doing what I want to do. But if the winter puts me in a position to be able to do it better, then great. How do I pause? I need the toilet, but I've needed it for like 10 minutes. I don't know where the pause button is. Just bear with me 1 second. If anyone has any questions in the meantime, I'm probably about, yeah, I think that probably sums up the update. I am happy to leave it running, and if anybody pops up with any questions for maybe, I don't know, 15 more minutes. But I am going for a quick toilet break. You're more than welcome to stay, and if anybody thinks of any questions, you can ask me anything, and I will answer as honestly as I can. I'm just trying to find the pause button for the moment. I can't find it, but be right back. People are going to come on and just see an empty chair. All right, but it won't let me do it. But I'll be back. You're welcome today. If you think of any questions, I'll leave it on for Yeah, maybe another 15 minutes. I'll only be 2 minutes, but if you can think of any questions, I'll answer them as honestly as I can. Um, back, back. Can't remember if I was recording the headphones or not. I think I was. What I was going to say is apology, an apology really. I just remembered, Ben, I sent you a message on Facebook. I didn't actually see after posting on X Factor and my say that anybody had replied to that, and I saw your comment too on um, YouTube. And the apology is how long it took to reply to comments on YouTube. So I'll be honest and explain why. It's the it's when there's some that you've got to answer, and I do try. And I think if you scroll down, I've replied to every comment, and I might have missed a few, but a few. I do try to reply to every comment that comes on, and then when the most recent videos did quite well um, compared to other ones, and there was quite a lot of comments, and with that, you then do get quite a bit of backlash, and I still try to reply to them comments. So I think that you don't realize you've left it that long, and then all of a sudden, like, wow, there's quite a lot of comments here, and you don't want to ignore any of the comments, but you don't automatically have an answer for some of them because you're like, how do I explain myself here? And you're trying to explain in the video, and people quite often see just a snippet of the video and then comment just based on that snippet, even though you've tried to explain it anyway. So yeah, that's an apology on my part for being quite slow. But I have sent you a message on Facebook. It might have gone to message request because it does that. But yeah, it would be great to meet up if you're local. It'd be nice to speak to an English person or generally a person sometimes. So that'd be good. Um, when you transferred from a UK contract to French contract, did you contact HMRC for a rebate? I don't think I did. No. And it happened in between, like that job was always seasonal, so the contract always ended. And I think normally I would get a tax rebate anyway from the UK because I never worked the whole year. But yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what the process would be if I was to go back to the UK after not being there for quite a while now. Do you know sailing seabirds? They're fixing the boat that they bought for €1 in Switzerland. Yeah, there is this winter season option. I applied for quite a few, and I don't know if I've just become really unemployable, but not really had any luck. Uh, the good thing if you can do winter seasons in Switzerland is the pay is really good in Switzerland. The issue is because of Brexit. Now, I'm not going to say Brexit actually turned out too bad for me because having French residency is actually really quite useful, which I would never have had if it wasn't for Brexit. However, it limits me to France, and I think a lot of people don't know this, but that French residency doesn't allow me then to go work in other EU countries unless something's changed. I've not looked for a while, but in order to go work in a different country, it's now, is it 3 months you're allowed to do it? I'd have to check, but yeah, winter seasons I've applied for a few before. I just haven't really had any luck. So, and as I say, winter seasons in France generally don't pay that well anyway, and it means going away from the boat, and I'd probably earn a little bit more than 700 a month, but I'd still have to pay for the boat to be somewhere, and I think all round I'd rather have 700 a month coming in and still being able to use my spare time to work on the boat because I do know when I was working before away from the boat, I felt a bit lost in what to do with my spare time usefully. So yeah, there isn't really any want to get off a boat. There was a want not to be at anchor when it was really dangerous. But as I say, I quite like living on a boat. So yeah, I think yeah, well, I'll give it 7 more minutes if anyone can think of any questions. Is there anything else I can tell you about in the meantime? It's not so easy to do these streams. This one was not really planned. I was just struggling to put the videos on I needed to put on and having some recording issues. And I just thought I'd try it and put one on. But as I say, even the thumbnail, the internet went off just before while I was trying to upload a more clickable thumbnail. And we definitely lost at least one person who commented right at the beginning telling me to get a grip and stop wasting everyone's time when the sound wasn't working. So I'm sure we probably lost others as well. So they are risky doing live because it should work, but as most things on this channel, sorry, things don't work. Stu from Seabird British. Oh, not EU. I'd have to have a look then. Because yeah, don't get me wrong. If there was work I could go do that was, you know, a good earning potential and decent money, I'd be up for it. It's it's finding that work, I guess. But yeah, I'll probably leave it there because I haven't had my tea yet. But thank you to everyone who stayed throughout the video. As I say, episodes will still be on the way. We've not given up entirely on getting the boat off the rocks just yet. Um, and there is some hope at the end of, a 5 month worry of, is this going to be out of my control and am I going to have to just leave the boat because there's no other options yet? There's no other options. So there's hope still. So we'll go with that. And on that note, I'm going to go have my tea. But thank you very much for everyone who's stayed throughout that. And yeah, I'll see you in the upcoming episodes. Good evening.